These missions take you deep into the heart of Anthem.
Today we're going to be kicking off a brand new mini-series for Anthem. I wanted to go ahead and take a look at each and every one of the javelins that's going to be available at launch and break down the information we currently have on each of them, essentially in everything we know about Insert Javelin here. I also felt it made the most sense to start with the Interceptor because we have the least information on this javelin, and a lot of what we've been saying is speculative. However, there's a post on EA's official Anthem page that dropped 3 days ago that does kind of make things a little bit more clear, at least in terms of blending our speculation with information we've gotten from John and Mark with the information that is now available on this page. So without further ado, let's dive in and break down everything we currently know about the Interceptor Javelin. Starting with the Bioware Breakdown on the Anthem page. As the smallest and sleekest of the javelins, the Interceptor is favored by long-range scouts and arcanists performing field research. But while it may not be the mightiest javelin in your arsenal, its agility and evasion are unmatched, and it has more than enough power to bring the fight to anyone foolish enough to underestimate it. The Interceptor Javelin might not have the imposing silhouette of the Colossus, but it still knows how to pack a punch. The Interceptor excels at getting in close to inflict damage and weaken its enemies, then dashing away before they can react. With powerful blades and a full suite of devastating abilities, the Interceptor is both incredibly self-reliant and an excellent supporting squad mate. This pretty much kind of seals, I think, the deal on what we've all been thinking in regard to the Interceptor and its purpose as a javelin within your squad, solo, however you decide to play. Now, not that long ago, in that Games Radar interview, John Warner mentioned that the Interceptor had some crowd control style abilities, that this would be a javelin that was very good at supporting teammates when you had to deal with groups of enemies. In the recent gameplay trailer, we get a small demonstration of what seems to be one of the Interceptor's abilities, a really elegant twirl into a ground pound that disperses a single enemy. Now, I want to point something out here before we go into full breakdown mode and say, hey, that's clearly a crowd control ability that knocks enemies out of the way. There was only one enemy there. You feel like they would have demonstrated an ability like that with multiple enemies, and it's not the first time we've seen an attack like this. The Colossus also has a ground pound ability that can engage from flight even, that causes AoE damage in a small area. So perhaps every single javelin can deploy some sort of a melee ground pound, whether it's from a jump or from flight, and they all just have different animations, and they all do potentially different amounts of damage and have a different AoE effect based on the javelin or even the size of the javelin. So I'm not ready to say that, hey, that ability is there to clear out enemies. I feel like that's just another melee style ability within the Interceptor's roster of probably many other abilities and of course gadgets and gear. I think the more important thing here though is to look at the line that says with powerful blades. This is very clearly a rogue style javelin, a javelin that doesn't use cloaking but instead uses speed and these two powerful blades, I'm going to assume it's dual daggers or dual short swords of some sort, to get in behind enemies to potentially do backstab damage. Now we know that each and every one of the javelins has their own melee weapon that they can use. It's a single melee weapon, it's tied to that javelin. I'm thinking with the Interceptor here, we've got probably one of the most powerful melee weapons in the game, and maybe there are going to be situations where it makes more sense to use those blades than it does to actually use our firepower. Get in, do some serious high crit damage on a stunned enemy that maybe we stunned or our teammates froze with the combo attack, maybe the cryo grenade from the Ranger, for example. Do that backstab damage, then pull out, use our firearms, and start to lay down more of our gadgets, more of our abilities to support our team. This class, combined with the idea of crowd control and what we see here with the blades and the speed, reminds me more of a Saboteur. If you played like any RPG, D&D, if you play even some MMOs, I think Rift had a Saboteur class. It was basically a subclass under the Rogue family that was less focused on like stealth cloaking and more focused on gadgets, right? So we're kind of getting vibes of that where it's like it's a really fast, speed-focused Saboteur class. Get in, do the backstab damage, use gadgets to kind of, you know, corral enemies into specific locations or help teams deal with large group of enemies. Sounds really exciting, actually. You know, the more they talk about like a really powerful melee javelin that, you know, maybe uses melee more than everyone else and that has these sort of gadgets, these traps maybe even, the more excited I get. You know, it's a very elegant looking javelin, and I particularly love the fact that they let us get a small glimpse of that like sort of ground pound ability, because the way that the Interceptor dashes forward, does this sort of, you know, almost gymnastic style twirl, smashes into the ground to disperse the enemy. It just looks really fantastic, and I think that sets the mood for this javelin. It gives me really good vibes in terms of like the uniqueness of the styling of the javelins, you know, their own animation sets, their own presence, their own personality, if you will. That's about everything we know, though. Anything else that I could say is going to be speculation, but nonetheless, it's nice to have some things kind of completely sealed now on the official page. I know that Mark Dare in the past talked about like blades and swords, but it's nice to just see it kind of all written down on Word and put it together with things we've seen in interviews and, of course, the little bits and pieces of footage that we've gotten. Moving forward, we'll probably be going on to the Storm, then the Colossus, then the Ranger, and who knows, maybe in the coming weeks as we try to complete this mini-series, we'll get even more information, new information on any of these 4 javelins. I will definitely be covering more of that recent gameplay reveal trailer. Just there's some things I want to dive into there, things that I want to take a look at, discuss. Definitely some conversation to have with certain things that were showcased, whether it's the environments, the monsters, some instances of loot that we even saw. We'll definitely be talking a lot more Anthem in the coming weeks. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.
You have been brought here for a purpose, the most important task of your life.